And welcome to Philosophy Roulette. This is number 55. We are gonna read a philosophy paper. So here we are on Phil Papers. Hope you are having a good day so far. And you continue to do so if you are. Or you have a better day if you are not having a good day right now. So let's see if there's anything new on the hot sheets. Review of aesthetic evaluation and review. AI and society. Strategic health and let's see if AI and society has something. Digital acrasia, a qualitative study of phubbing. What the heck is phubbing? Ignoring conversation. Okay. Well, it's qualitative. Well, let's see. I mean, I'm afraid that if it's a study, there's not going to be a lot of, I don't feel like reading, that's too bad. I would like to know more about phubbing, which seems to be ignoring people for your phone, but I'm not going to read a study. It's just going to be me reading numbers off a chart. Okay. Let's see. Social choice ethics in artificial intelligence. That could be fun. Birdsong Diamond in Deep Space 8K. What the heck? Oh, it's multidisciplinary bird communications. Dance of the artificial alignment and ethics. What do we owe intelligent robots? These all seem so much fun. Okay. Just gotta pick one then. Alright, then we're gonna go by length. This one is 8 pages. This one is 9 pages. Look how many downloads this got. That's a well-read paper. This one is 11 pages. You're out. Digital hermeneutics, from machines to interpersonal machines. That's probably interesting. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff. Hopefully we can read one of them. Let's see. Alright, just gonna have to pick one. I don't know. Okay, potential full human. Let's try this one. Let's just go straight up cyborg. Oh, but if you can't download it, there's no point. Oh, okay. Well, there's the other problem, of course. I mean, usually the ones with lots of downloads means it's available. Nope. Nope. Too far. I mean, you can just do this one. I can almost guarantee it's going to be here. And that's why we're going to read your paper, because you uploaded it to the Phil Papers. Yay! Alright, the future of war. And let's actually go check to make sure it's what they say. It is 9 pages, not 90. Ooh, docx, okay. Hmm. Yeah, this is a little longer than I was hoping for. It's it says 16 pages here, but it's like it's 11 point, and I think they decreased the line spacing. Let's see, this one has 118 downloads. That makes it seem like it might be here. Oh, come now. Come on, people. This is see this? It doesn't look like it's actually the full paper here. It's just dangling here. So you've got a busted file. That's annoying. Oh, this is super not cool if I can't actually get a hold of any of these after being so promising. Okay, well there we are. We're going to do Dance of the Artificial Alignment and Ethics by Karamjit S. Gill. See, I hit the print button. There's no printer here. And I did it twice. That's awesome. Save, would you?
I know only one way to judge a man's brilliance, and that's by the size of his bank account.
Well, that's interesting. Why did that not show up in chat? If you're in chat, you can type exclamation point paper, and the link will pop up, so you can follow along if you want. Oops, wrong paper. I gotta fix that. There we are. Hooray. And here we go. As we grapple with the impact of the artificial on the one hand, and the envision on the common good potential of the augmented eye. Hold on one sec. This is just a little bit too loud in my ear for some reason today. It's like something got slightly changed. Okay. The background music was disturbing me. As we grapple with the impact of the artificial on the one hand and envision the common good potential of augmented AI systems on the other, we see critical approaches to make sense of the nature of the emergence of the data-driven society. In this exploration, we face social challenges of governance, ethics, accountability, and intervention arising from the accelerated integration of powerful artificial intelligence systems into core social institutions. We encountered the exponential rise of big data flows and network communications and their manipulating algorithms. The gaps in the translations are now too vast to grasp and address, rendering us unable to engage with the difference through the shadows of machine thinking. Yes, things are getting complex out there. But that's not... I'd like to point out that this is not a new problem. People think this is a new problem, but do you really know how, an architect builds a building? Do you really think the everyday, Athenian understood how to, build a, one of their temples back in the day? I don't think so. Like, there's always been problems with specialization. It's like, yeah, do you think your everyday, like, Athenian really understood, like, Aristotle's logic? We barely understand Aristotle's logic. Aristotle was just too smart. Anyway, we encounter the exponential rise of big data flows and network communications and the manipulating algorithms. The gaps of translation are too vast now to grasp and address, rendering us unable to engage with difference in the shadows of machine thinking. Just said that. Augmentation and automation places the human in the predicament to accept the calculation of the machine without judgment. We echo Cooley's concern of socially irresponsible science and whether we can transcend the instrumental reason of machine thinking, wise and bound to mold technology to futures for common good rather than turning them into a single story of singularity. Can't really understand. Is this all parenthetical? Can we reappropriate the idea of causality that has been taken by science and reframe it in the making of everyday judgments and decisions? How can we harness collective intelligence as transforming tool for addressing complex social problems? Just as narrators of past just as narrators of the past situated their socio-technical debates in the context of their days, we need to draw up various AI narratives of relations between society and the scientific project of AI, and the challenges it poses for us to come up with possible symbiotic AI futures. Just as the old technology arrived at a historical breaking point at which the old society was deemed to be transformed into a new one, the technologies of artificial are now beginning to generate a situation in which society is once again facing the specter of a new transformation. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't see this close parenthesis right here for some reason. Okay. Coffee doesn't actually help you. It's a lie. In exploring AI futures, we should take note of Cooley's reminder that the scientific project is always embedded within a particular social order and reflects the norm and ideology of that social order. In this perspective, science ceases to be seen as an autonomous as it internalizes ideological assumptions, thereby shaping the design of systems and tools and theoretical frameworks of its validation. It is undeniable that the drive of scientific knowledge has provided the material basis for a more full and dignified existence for the community as a whole. It must not, however, be a blind, unthinking drive forward, shirking our social responsibility to critically examine its impact upon and implications for society. In this issue, our authors contribute to an ongoing debate on the narratives of artificial intelligence in society, ranging from alignment, digital hermeneutics, ethics, augmentation, to global catastrophic risks. The alignment debate emphasizes the alignment of the individual cognitive abilities to the collective in the geographically distributed digital organizations, supported by the concept of human validation. Such an alignment builds upon the interplay between the tacit and cognitive dimensions of knowledge and creating participatory environments. The curmudgeon wonders why it is that we hesitate to make causal inferences in favor of creative artificial agents. Yes, I do. And imaginative machines, while we do not have such hesitation in drawing causal inferences in favor of creative human agents. Yes, but we already know how crazy creative human agents are. Like, it's a devil we know. That's why we're not freaked out about that one. We would be freaked out about it otherwise. I mean, we'll place human with alien here, and that'd be the exact same problem. We'd still be freaked out. Is it because our species chauvinism? Yes, species chauvinism or anthropocentric bias? Yeah, that too. And how do we avoid being invidiously discriminatory in our responses to these imagined machines? We may not venture to answer such questions, but at least they stimulate further lines of inquiry about imagination, machines, and their implications for our understanding of the imagination, creative or otherwise. Here we encounter a symbiotic version of human and machine alignment narrative in which truly intelligent cognitive machines perform human-like reasoning and learning with the capability of human-like motivation, emotion, and personality. The argument for this idea is this idea of alignment is that it goes beyond the thesis of the computational intelligence of deep learning and reinforcement learning, thereby overcoming the narrowness cognitive paradigm in pursuing a fuller human-machine symbiosis. It is also argued that this debate on symbiosis can take advantage of the current momentum in the direction of the integration of the cognitive with social and natural sciences, thereby ameliorating the rising unease over the potential for AI and related technologies to shape the world going forward. Well, it would change them. I don't know if it would ameliorate them, because if you're talking about machines being creative and stuff, then whose society is it? It's the thing that was brought up in the Matrix. It's like, well, is it our society or is it the machine society if it's their creations that are going forward? So you don't necessarily ameliorate the rising unease. You're going to mutate the rising unease, which could be a good thing. The proponents of machine learning would, however, argue that statistical learning theory and machine learning models can be used to enhance understanding of AI-related epistemological issues regarding inductive reasoning and the reliability of generalizations. It is posited that this rather counterintuitive epistemological view of deep learning may provide an epistemological way forward and even perhaps an approach to how knowing is possible. Possibly. Unlikely, but possible. From the idea of human-machine alignment, we move toward an augmentation hypothesis of a collective human-machine subject of wearable technologies. In this perspective of digital hermeneutics, the argument is that as individuals in a community are augmented by the same wearable technologies, they generate a new type of collective subject, producing a collective organism in which individuals still pursue their collective goals. In this vision, the world will become dwelled by these new collective subjects which will develop their own particular needs to be fed. Yeah, cyborg world, yay! When we envision the impact of AI systems in societal context, we are confronted with the propagation of big data either as a virtuous tool or as a malicious machine. I like the switch in term right there, virtuous tool or as a malicious machine. The tool implies like it's something to be used by us. The machine sort of has its own autonomy. It's like a separating or pushing that off into like the other. It's like alien, foreign agent sort of thing. A very easy slide to make. However, we are reminded that contrary to the big data champions, big data is neither new nor a miracle without any error, nor reliable and rigorous as assumed by its cheerleaders. When seen from a societal context rather than as a technological advancement, the assumption of homogeneous big data is rather misleading. It is thus crucial that society should resist the temptation of recognizing big data as a virtuous tool of the Internet of Things. Moreover, the focus on technological advancement sidesteps the ethical dimension of system design, thereby creating a gap between the design and use of AI systems and tools. In bridging the gaps in AI systems design and ethical dimensions, it is posited that a practical way forward lies in engaging AI engineers to grasp the ethical issues by extending their own research and development and practicing an ethical AI design in the hermeneutic tradition. In developing the theme of digital hermeneutics, it may be asked in what ways digital technology can legitimately be regarded as interpersonal machines. However, in asking this question, we are asked to reflect upon the history of interpretational beings, a second-degree reflection on the specificity of humans as interpreting animals, thereby reflecting upon intrinsic difference between humans and digital machines, AI. Reflecting on the theme of digital hermeneutics, we note that the narrative of digital modernity may turn out to be a seductive concept, especially when seen in terms of the specific affordances of digital network technology. It is, however, worth noting that this narrative tends to shape reality via commercial and political decision makers. Seen from an historical perspective, the idea of digital modernity may face space and time contradictions of its progression in the same way as contradictions that are found between ideas of digital modernity and modernity itself, and also between digital modernity and some of the basic pre-modern concepts that underlie the whole technology industry. It is posited that digital modernity may not therefore be a sustainable goal for technology development. Might not be. As the technological vision of AI grapples with alignment or catastrophic risk, I mean, we also have to not be dramatic. We don't know if anything's catastrophic. A lot of things are said to be catastrophic. Yeah, people said rock and roll will be the downfall of society. Artists in the humanistic tradition of digital hermeneutics are beginning to show a way forward to designing AI systems and tools for engagement and collective intelligence. They do so through their interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary performances and installations. One such example is that of a birdsong diamond project of a multifaceted, multidisciplinary installation. This volume, didn't know that. This volume is about that, in which engagement of public in the iterative design process provides artistic insights regarding the beneficial nature of collaborative interactions for promoting audience engagement with the subject matter. This collaboration envisions that ethics resides in the human dimension and not in the machine dimension. Okay, why don't the machines get ethics? That seems very partial. From the humanistic perspective, the discussion on ethics of the artificial argues that AI designers should take responsibility for ethical design decisions, and that these decisions must not be left for afterwards to AI systems, as we cannot let the AI figure it out. You know, we don't let kids figure out morality, we try to teach them stuff. It would seem weird that we would assume machines could figure it out when we can't figure it. We can barely figure it out. It is noted that since we cannot take aggregate views of society for granted, the choice between a social choice theory of ethics and a predetermined view of ethics is a rather weak argument for machine ethics. The ethical debate is thus seen as much broader than machine ethics. The argument is that ethics resides with the humans as decision makers and not in the behavior of machines towards human users and perhaps other machines as well. Since human ethics is centered around the idea of having a mind, the idea of equivalence of machines' minds and human minds is very problematic. In this perspective, the very idea of an artificial moral agent or machine ethics fails to be a moral agent. If the artificial agent fails the test of moral agency, then can we justify the idea of robots as evil machines, just as society does this for humans in certain unforgivable circumstances? It is interesting to note that whilst the idea of evil machine as envisioned in robotic ethics, research may lie in the argument that machines are evil because humans say so, there is no such tendency to depict intelligent machines as malicious when we consider the issue of autonomy, privacy, and liability. In thinking of the issue of autonomy, privacy, and liability within the context of AI law, we are reminded that legal structures could act as barriers or enablers depending on the adoption of automated systems. This is also the case with the autonomous agricultural robot, for example. The concern for this autonomous agricultural robots, for example, the concerns of technology as an enabler or a barrier be seen in the use of shared communication resources and the privacy of reuse of robot collective data. This raises the question not just defining privacy, but also of the scope of autonomy of the robot. So I guess if farmer is using some sort of agricultural robot, and the data is getting sent back to the company's headquarters, whose data is that? Why does the company get the data that is generated off the farmer's crops? I don't know. Everyone has a opt-in, opt-out with cookies and stuff, and we collect all the data nowadays. And the problem with that, of course, is that you see the warning sign so many times on all the websites that it just becomes another thing to click and you ignore it, and you don't actually know what they're doing. That's what happens if something becomes too prevalent. It just becomes it gets ignored. It becomes just part of the scenery. Data ethics. This raises the question not of just defining privacy, but also of the scope of the autonomy of the robot. In arguing the case for designing intelligent machines that align with human values, we also raise the issue whether such highly advanced yet artificially intelligent beings will deserve moral protection once they become capable of moral reasoning and decision-making. In doing so, we also raise the question of machine ethics, of whether the intelligent machines in the form of an autonomous robot deserves to be granted moral rights once they have become full ethical agents, that is, subjects of morality. I wonder how you'd even figure that out. I don't know. The ethics of the artificial agent debate goes beyond roboethics. Ooh, never seen that word before. Roboethics. That's kind of cool. And asks whether the behavior of autonomous agents such as autonomous vehicles, lethal autonomous weapons, and automated financial trading systems can now be evaluated as artificial moral agents. This notion of moral evaluation raises questions of how should artificial moral agents make decisions and whether moral theory is better placed than machine ethics. It is argued in this volume that the rule-based utilitarian approach for guiding the virtuous artificial moral agent captures the most important features of the virtue theoretic approach while realizing additional significant benefits. And further, the utilitarian artificial moral agent, when incorporating both established moral rules and a utilitarian calculator, is especially well suited for machine ethics. I don't know. It seems like you're trying to solve the problem with the same problem here. How are you going to calculate a utility calculator separate from big data? It seems like you're trying to solve the same problem twice. You've got big data do a utility calculator for the machine ethics, but then you've got the big data doing the other stuff too. And so I don't really. It seems like this is a begging the question, like methodologically, right here. If you're going to have the way you understand what's right and wrong based on all your big data, but then that's the question of how to understand the big data, then it's a little bit I'm not exactly sure if this really is what's going on then, because it seems like you're trying to solve the problem with the problem. My favorite fallacy is ignotum per ignotus. It's ignorance from ignorance. You're explaining one thing you don't understand with something else you also don't understand. It's like, yeah. Well, it's like A explains B, and then you're like, well, but we understand A even less than B, so like, A can't explain B. Yeah, so, okay, continuing. So I find this right here. This is an important. I think this is like sort of this essay is sort of an introductory to a bit of the other things that are going on in this journal. Might have been a special edition, but it's still interesting because the way this is like sort of mapped out, it's sort of telling stuff about what's going on in this journal issue. But even so, it's an interesting discussion. Okay. As our society is experiencing ever-growing integration of the internet into everyday lives, we face the problem of internet addiction, IA, that has emerged from the problematic and excessive internet usage, which leads to the development of addictive cyber behaviors causing health and societal problems. It is proposed that one way forward is to develop internet-based IA recovery frameworks, YARF, which uses AI to closely observe, visualize, and analyze patients' internet usage behavior for possible staged intervention. The ethical issue then is how to control the design and use of smart internet-based systems. In the pursuit of reducing the negative impact of questionable AI, the discussion wonders whether AI systems programmed with a virtual consciousness and consciousness would reduce AI threats via motivational control, and whether other threats such as the desire for AI, human socioeconomic quality could prove detrimental. Seen through a redemptive lens, however, the AI revolution is seen to bring extensive medical benefits to society. For example, deep learning neural networks can extract important information for big databases by screening millions of skin abnormalities to diagnose a patient's abnormality, as well as find associations between a patient's condition and those patients' genetical, medical, physical, environmental, and social records in order to find the case of Alzheimer's. In the same vein as the internet addiction, this volume notes that phubbing as a new phenomenon of ignoring conversational partners leads to diminishing and often producing negative interpersonal relations. Yeah. This phenomenon raises concerns of whether phubbing gives rise to behavior that is not only unaware of the social milieu, but also entails adverse effects of and hurtful behavior. It's hypothesized that phubbing develops the notion of digital acrasia, which can be defined as a tendency to become swept up by one's digital devices in spite of better intentions. Yeah, I'm wishing I was able to read that paper. There's a question of digital creation. It's called like digital weakness, where you're just always defaulting to the internet because it's sort of like an easier way out than dealing with the societal problems. I don't know if this is a. I mean, I guess it has its own. Like the social realm is harder to deal with than the online realm. That could be fair, and so you're like running away into the digital. I guess is what they mean by digital acrasia. There's always a other side to that. Like I'm sure sometimes it's better to be able to have a support system that is given by the digital. So not everyone can. I mean, there is. I don't know. Have to read the paper. Anyway, continuing. As the discussion moves beyond the technological vision onto a broader societal impact, we are asked to face the scenario of a global catastrophic risk arising from the evolution of artificial intelligence. It is proposed that as no single way can be found, including alignment of human and AI, in covering all risks of AI, it may be more realistic to focus on the narrow risk of narrow AI viruses and early self-improving AI, in the sense that these risks are nearer in time and not overshadowed by other potential risks. Yeah, so people are now claiming that the coronavirus, or they were claiming, was a what's it called, a government program gone wrong. Like this was a weapon that sort of got loose. It is, at the moment, I haven't heard any serious discussion that this was really such a thing, but people are starting to get worried about this sort of stuff. Continuing the ideological debate on global risk, we are introduced to the debate on the Anthropocene as the contemporary counterpart of the Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction, and the most compelling argument for a new kind of technological arms race. The discussion notes that in the era of an emerging ideological discourse on energy security, the Anthropocene has come to represent the co-option of a scientific factography for the thinly disguised resurgence of ideological science of the Fukuyama-esque variety, post-history, post-human. According to this narrative, the argument goes, science, like technology, must be uniquely at the service of the maintenance of the global order, organized around a universal appeal to crisis management. It is this narrative that drives the post-human trajectory towards an ever more apocalyptic humanism. That's kind of ever more apocalyptic humanism. You gotta hand it to philosophy. I think we have the best phrases. Sometimes even when I'm writing, I'm like, that's a good phrase. I like that crazy phrase. Okay. Complementing the debate on the Anthropocene, it is argued that, seen through the lens of ethical warfare in the forms of ethical lethal autonomous weapons, and they call them laws, artificial intelligence weapons systems can be so designed as to make decisions within their bounds of their ethics-based codes. The debate on such robot weapons systems then posits that the only ethical laws should be used to replace human involvement in war, and, by extension of their consistent abilities, should remove humans from war until a more formidable discovery is made in conducting ethical warfare. Recognizing that this philosophical argument may stimulate the building of a pragmatic strategy to ameliorate unnecessary violence. So this would just be like, we'll take all the people out and we'll just send the robots after each other, and since no people will die, that's better. Yeah, it seems like one of those times where, what was that? It's a Simpsons episode where they had some like problem with some wild animal had overrun the town, and the suggestion was, well, then we get this other animal that is a predator of that one. And the question is, well, what happens when that predator overruns a town? And they keep getting these bigger and bigger and scarier animals. And then they say, well, what happens when the tigers like overrun the town? He says, well, then the winter will come and the tigers can't live through the winter, and then we'll all be happy. And it's just like, oh god, it's like you're gonna just create a bigger problem if you do that. But yeah, it's just escalation. The challenge is thus to create a strategic framework that facilitates imaginative and creative response to to technologies of the artificial, for example, in dealing with disruptions of the social, economic, and cultural life, especially when life becomes synchronized with the digital environment. AI in society welcomes contributions to the ongoing debate on art, science, and science in our journal. Okay, so this was sort of like an introductory paper. I did not realize that because it doesn't really, yeah, didn't it did not go for that. It didn't say that at the head, but that's interesting. Maybe this can't be like an AI in society. Yeah, it's 35, so it's not like this is the opening salvo in their journal. It's just some sort of, I don't know. It was an interesting little survey, so, I find it interesting to see how there's other arguments going on in here that are just like classic arguments from other areas. Then you can just and they're getting recast in this scheme with like AI and other stuff. Like one of the modern issues is with big data, of course, is that it takes on the data science of the past, which is just library science. And library science has a lovely, lovely history of just being grounded in like the last like few hundred years of racism and colonialism and stuff like that. So all of those problems are that we've had for centuries now, or we've inherited from centuries ago, are all present in this sort of stuff. And so the AI of this big data is really just the information system science of the past, which is library science. And we, of course, we're trying to figure out how to deal with that, and it's become very pressing. But it's like they were understanding that stuff. I just read something on Gutenberg. Gutenberg was because the explosion of data science is basically history of books and information. Gutenberg was making, apparently, charms and like trinkets and like souvenirs out of metal. That's what they would make. He was living in a town that was having a problem with tourism. And because there were relics people want to see, and there was a crowding problem, you couldn't get so close. So they'd make relics and like these souvenirs so people could take a little piece home. And then they actually invented putting mirrors on the relics so you could like get the light off the relic. So if you could see it by so this was the old sort of selfie cam back in the day. And like, how do you get the information? Like, you could get the light off the relic because you couldn't get close enough to be right next to it anymore. And that's how Gutenberg kind of got money, probably to finance his research into metal type, because he was making metal things anyway. So it's like, and it was off this sort of, how do you deal with a mass of people dealing with things that people didn't understand, the relics, and all the things going around with it. Anyway, so that's a little aside. But I wish I could have read some of the other papers in this journal. Oh well, it's okay. I hope everyone has a nice day, and I'll be back later. You don't always know what you're gonna get here. So, bye bye.